Fever, and this is The Breakdown. What? Hey, everybody! Hi, everyone! It's Wednesday. It is Breakdown Day, and I am super excited because I have author extraordinaire Greg Burnham here with me. Hi,
Greg. Hey, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you? Thank you so much for taking time from your busy day to hang out with us.
No problem.
How are you holding up?
Pretty good. All things considered.
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind of 2020, hasn't it?
It sure has.
Yeah. So you are author extraordinaire. As you know, I'm a huge fan. I literally have everything you have written and doubles of stuff because I'm like a huge fan. So let's get started. Where did your love for writing come from? Let's get to know Greg a little bit.
I think it had to come from reading. I go all the way back, and I don't know if you've ever seen any of the panels I've been on. I talk about how when I was in the second grade, I bought like a novel at like one of the school book fairs. It was the Empire Strikes Back novel. And everybody was like, "Oh, this is too big for you. You don't need, you're only in the second grade." And I was like, "I don't really care." So I bought it. I remember like getting the family dictionary. I'm that old.
Me too.
And I just brought the family dictionary in my room. So whenever I came across a word I didn't know, I would just look it up. And I think that was the first thing because I was so immersed in this world. I was living in Idaho.
Oh.
It's a long story, but we didn't have like a movie theater anywhere close. So it was like, that was my movie, Empire Strikes Back. And I was just amazed reading it. And I think that's what set me on the... on it. Now, I can't see you.
Okay, that's fine. But, I can see you.
All right, and then I was wondering if my camera... Nope.
Uh-oh. Greg, did we lose you? Gregg's on remote location. So his Wi-Fi might be a little spotty, so bear with us. I can say just a little bit of some of the stuff because I like the author, and the artist themselves too. So we're gonna fill up a little bit of time while Greg gets to his Wi-Fi up. So Greg wrote Tuskegee Airs. There are 3 volumes of Tuskegee Airs out right now, with the 4th one hopefully on its way soon. Of course, you know me, I'm always about when's the next one coming out. Tuskegee Airs is such a great comic. It is beautifully written. It takes place in the future, about 76 years from now. And it is... Hello, Greg?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, there you are.
I don't know what happened. I'm just not going to touch anything else.
I was telling them a little bit about Tuskegee Airs until you came back. I didn't get too far, but I got to tell them a little bit about it. So for your love for writing came at an early age. When you actually saw the movie, did you have the same imagination as what was on the screen, or was it something completely different than what you had seen in your head?
I think, the thing was, I already had the toys and I already knew what they looked like.
Okay.
So, as far as how they looked, that was fine. There were certain parts of the movie where I pictured it like totally different, but I think that was just what made it even better. Was because it's like, oh, that's not how I thought it was, but this is cool.
Did you ever think of like doing, or have you probably done fan fiction for Star Wars?
I don't really well, I got a couple of things that are kind of like fan fiction, but like prequels and stuff like that. But the first story that I ever really wrote when I was like in the like a really long story, but was in the 5th grade. And looking back on it now, it was pretty much just Black Star Wars, if that counts.
That definitely counts.
But
I'm all for Black Star Wars.
yeah, I thought it was original, at the time. But now I look back on it, I'm like, because actually, I guess about 20 years ago, I was thinking about all the stories when I decided I wanted to start writing. I was thinking about all of them, and I was like, well, I have this one. And then I was like, right now, I was like, this is Black Star Wars. Okay, on to the next one. So, yeah.
So, is Tuskegee Airs your first like physical comic that you've been?
Well, Marcus, the way Marcus Williams, who's my business partner, illustrator, co-writer, co-creator, Tuskegee Airs, the way we met, I was looking to do a comic, and this was years ago. This was, around 20 years ago.
Okay.
And so we actually did one. I don't have it. I'm not at home right now. I would show you a copy of it. It's called The Starving Artist. That was the first comic we ever did. And we actually did. We were selling it pretty well. We just didn't understand the business side of it. We didn't. We were losing money because we were printing them up ourselves.
Oh.
So every time we would sell a copy, we were losing money. So it was like, yeah, we sold that again. Because we had them in this comic shop, Criminal Records in Atlanta. And so we're like, every time it's like, high five, we sold another one. Oh man, we lost more money. So, yeah.
I think that's the way it is when you first start out. You're always like, you end up somewhat in the negatives or breaking even, just because understanding that kind of market is kind of tricky if you don't have a mentor, or if you're, I mean, like 20 years ago, internet was still around, but it didn't have like the full effect that it had, where everybody knows everything now.
You could find everything. Yeah, if we would have known like what we know now, then that probably would have been like a huge success, just because it was really good. And now that we understand, ordering, like doing bulk printing and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so it was a learn. I mean, but part of us going through that is what helped us learn how to do what we're doing today.
Do you think there might be a re-release? And now that you've
got So we found the original files.
Sweet.
And I'm gonna, like do a release. Marcus is like, no, because this was 20 years ago. This was when we got Photoshop in order to be able to do this book. And so he was learning Photoshop at the same time. I show it to people at cons because I still have like an original copy. And it's not, I mean, I can brag on him. He doesn't brag on himself. He's an amazing illustrator.
Yeah.
So he's like, I don't want anybody to see, when I was a baby. And I'm like, man, I don't care. I think it would be cool. I think a lot of our fans would want to see it. So.
The two of you, since I've met you guys, which has been, I think, like 3-4 years now. It's been a hot minute. I've dubbed you guys Batman and Superman. You guys are great dynamic duo, but you guys are great separately as well. He holds his own in art and you hold your own in writing. Like, you start reading and next thing you know, you're done and you're like, well, wait. So, I'm like, what else happened? So I'm very glad that I was able to actually I bought Tuskegee Airs when the third one had just came out, because if I would have bought them one at a time, I would have been like, no, I need it now. I need it like right now.
And it takes us like so long to do them, so people are like, hurry up. And like we get death threats. They're not like real death threats. But,
no. You probably like the stuff that I say. I'm like, okay, guys, come on now. Like, let's go with it. Like, I need it now. But you also have dabbled in children's books, which I bought for my niece and my nephew, and their parents loved it. They my sister actually sent me a picture that it's on like repeat, It's
Hmm.
one of the books that stays on repeat. So what made you decide that you wanted to do a children's book?
Well, like the children's books, I actually did the two that I have now. I'm working on another one right now. Um,
Oh, yay.
but the two that I have now were 2013 and 2014, I think.
Okay.
So we, Marcus and I, we went through this really weird transition. We did a comic book, and then we started a business, like a website business, like a entertainment type of thing. And
Okay.
we did pretty well with that for some years. But it's one of those things where the people that you partner up with are not don't always have the same goal as you. So, anyways, and I'm gonna be quick. So we, kind of dropped that, and then we started thinking about like what's the stuff that we've done that really worked. Well, we did T-shirts,
Mhm.
and we were selling T-shirts really well, all of that, and so it was like kind of. I was like, I want to do these children's books that I've always wanted to do. They're actually stories from my childhood. Um,
Oh, you didn't
or
tell me that when I bought it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, so it's like stories that I used to tell my kids when they were little,
Oh.
because there's actually like morals. Like one is about
Mhm.
being honest. The other one's about not judging people when you don't know what they've been through, like that kind of stuff. So, little lessons I would tell. And my daughter, with her infinite wisdom, was about 5, and she was like, "You need to make this a book." And you and Uncle Marcus could make a
Aw.
book. And I was like, that's a good idea. So, years later, that's what, kind of prompted the children's book.
Children's book. And the one of being honest is Broken Glass.
Right.
And the one of not judging someone is Grandpa's Shoes,
Yeah.
which I thought was great. And both books, well, one book is a little boy and the other one's a little girl. And I like that it was a variation. And that way you kind of get, it's not just a boy in every book or not just a girl
Yeah.
in every book. And was that something that you purposely did? And you was like, no, I want like one that's
Yeah. Well, I have a son and I have a daughter.
oh,
They're
okay.
grown now, but at the time it's like again, daughter, infinite wisdom. So the Broken Glass was the first one. So after she read that, she was like, okay, now you need one with a girl. Okay, so it was kind of an easy sell because again the stories are based off of stuff that I kind of happened to me, but it's either easily could be interchanged with a boy or a girl.
Okay, so let's quickly touch on Tuskegee Airs because I want to get on your latest project that just released. So Tuskegee Airs, what made you decide that? What was it a collaboration idea with Marcus, or was this your idea and you brought it up to Marcus?
It's one of those things. So we have this process. First of all, we're not just like we don't just work together. We're like really really good friends, and
Okay.
so we sometimes like I don't even like to talk on the phone, but we can like talk and like vent and be stupid and
Yeah.
nobody judges. So,
Yeah.
but this
That's your
one
person.
like
That's your person.
yeah. So we were a lot of our stuff just happens organically. I was doing a book signing for the children's books, and Marcus was there with me, and he, was selling posters, all of that. And we had an elderly gentleman that came up, a little bit grumpy, and he's looking through everything, and he's like, "This isn't bad," but I don't. He was like, "I don't see no pilots, nobody flying or anything like that," and so it's like, that is true. He was like, "Yeah, you need to teach these kids about aviation. We don't have," and he started like railing off statistics and everything.
Oh wow.
And so Marcus was like, he just says to himself, kind of, he was like, "Well, I was thinking about drawing some young Tuskegee Airmen," and then I was like, "Yeah, man, we should," for multiple reasons. Like I don't want to like use somebody else's likeness to make
Mm,
money, especially unless everybody approved of it.
yes.
So I was like, and I always think like multiple steps ahead. So I was like, we should put it in the future, like draw it and put it in the future. And he was like, and it had robots. And then our heads was like, and I love the story, man, because as you get older, like when we were young, like early 20s or whatever, it was like we would be like little kids coming up with these ideas. This took us back to that. And I remember it was Thanksgiving break in 2015. So we're both single parents at the time. Both of our kids, all of our kids, like my two kids lived with me, his two kids lived with him.
Okay.
And I think his kids were at his at his mom's house. And my son was there. My son was grown. My daughter was still in high school. I think she went to her grandmother's house for, the week or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And we just sat, man. He came to my house like every day, and we were just like sitting on the floor, and he was drawing, and I was writing and playing Grand Theft Auto at the same time.
Yes.
And like we're just like railing this stuff off, and so that's how it kind of came. Marcus put an image up, just a pencil image, and this was before we had like a lot of followers. I say we, I mean that loosely. People know who I am, but Marcus has like 9 bajillion followers or whatever. I don't. I'm good with that. But like at this time, we were still kind of, like emerging. And so, yeah, he put that image up and it kind of went viral. We had all these people like doing that take my money thing.
Yes.
And so, every day we're just working, building out characters, building out the world and all of that. And that's how it started.
I won't give away too many spoilers, but the mech, when I was reading it, when we first got it and I was reading it, the mech is what caught my son's eye, and he was like, "What is that?" And I was like, "Mind your own business, is mine." But I did tell him about it and did show it to him, and he loved it. He actually, it's one of the first comics and only comics that he's read. He's not very big into reading comics. So the mech is what got him with Tuskegee Airs. Now, your latest project, and pronounce her name because I'm terrible with names to begin with. So
Sonica.
Okay, The Search for Sonica. This is issue 0. It's an introduction issue. I got both because as soon as they said limited copy and your name and Marcus's names were, because he did this one, but he did not do this one. This one's a special guest.
Kanan White. As you can see, he's an amazing inker. And whenever we have a project, I try to reach out to him just because he's awesome. And he's a really good dude, really professional. So he's fun to work with.
As soon as they said limited, and I was like, I'm done. And take it, like you said, take my money. Here it is. And I got it. And I was like super excited. It is so interesting. It's definitely different. And the viewers that have watched the show, I'm all about different. Like I hate repetitive. I hate the same story washed up and put in a different cycle. So let's talk a little bit behind the idea. What made you choose 1921 as the setting?
Oh, well, I'm going to cough. This is not wrong. So 1921. So basically, the story takes place, like you've read it. So what's happening is like during the story is basically the Tulsa race riot beginning. So that was the date. What inspired me with this one, and I'm a history major, as you can tell by reading anything. I
was getting ready to ask you that later on. Like I was getting ready to ask you about history and stuff like that because I was wondering how because it sounds like you know exactly what you're talking. So that makes sense.
Yeah. So I've watched all these documentaries about, Black Wall Street and Tulsa, and I thought I knew everything like we always do, right? Mm-hmm. And then I watched a documentary that shook me to my core. Because it showed that this was, even though we know it's not like a random incident, mm-hmm. It showed the level of plotting that went into it. So they talked about how, after the riot, the shootouts and everything, there were a lot of Black people dead. They took the rest of them that they could find and basically locked them up. And some people got away. Then they went down to the district and they basically kicked in doors, took any property that they wanted, and then they burned their homes down. And then flipped and sold the land. The city sold the land to white people. So you're talking about black people who owned homes, who had, and in a lot of cases, they had more fancy stuff, than the white people. That was where the jealousy and envy came from.
Okay.
And so it just really showed the levels that, that they went through to destroy. Like, I mean, just imagine, like, you and your people built this district up.
Yeah.
You got doctors and lawyers and dentists and restaurants and all this stuff, and they just burned it down. And
Wow.
then, um, and then the worst, like one of the worst parts is, people had to live in tents for like, they lived in tents from like June to whenever. But they were talking about how they had this really big Christmas tree and they allowed the black people to sing Christmas songs and stuff. And that was like, it just, yeah, the documentary, I could send it to you if you
Yeah,
want.
yeah, yeah.
Because I really feel like we need to, like get some of this unabridged truth, especially
Yes.
in these days,
Oh,
right?
100%. Because I'm telling you, every other day, I'm like, wait a second, that's not what I thought I knew. Like,
Right, yeah.
100%.
So
Yeah,
you can see the lengths and the depths that they went to. So yeah, that was what sparked. I went to sleep, and I woke up. I had this dream about a little girl that escaped.
yeah.
And so that's where it started. The whole idea started from.
Now you have a lot of, or so far for me, a lot of strong female characters within this first issue. You have the teacher. She's well put together, well spoken, and I'm saying that because a lot of the times when they do this day and age, the 1920 era, and they have a black female, she's usually unkept. She's usually talking worse than what the child is talking, you know what I mean? So that's why I say she's like well spoken. You have Miss Helen, who corrects her when she's fighting and stuff like that.
Right.
And then you have her mother. Was it important for you to have these female strong characters, or was that something that you were just like, you didn't even realize that you had all these strong female characters within the first issue?
So I think the crazy thing for me is that I came up like in kind of a matriarchal family. So it's not to say there weren't men, but
Mhm.
I would say that the majority of the men weren't really the best examples. And
Okay.
so the women were the ones who took care. So Miss Helen is actually an ode to my great aunt,
Oh.
Helen. And she was short and she was feisty. She was, super intelligent. I learned, she passed away 20 years ago, but
But
well,
still.
yeah, like maybe 25, 26 years ago. And I still remember lessons that she taught me. So it's like, I say all that to say that I had all these great examples of strong black women growing up. My mother, my sister, my grandmother, my friend's mom, it just, so it's like second nature. Like, and
Okay.
people ask us, even with Tuskegee Airs, like, what made you guys decide? Well,
Mhm.
we have daughters, but then we also have these amazing, strong women who, if it wasn't for them, I don't know what I would be.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah, and I noticed that. I noticed that with Tuskegee Airs, but I noticed that more with this book because it was like, okay, I see you. Okay, I see you. Oh, okay, they're all over. I see you. And I've said it before. For me, I think we're about the same age. I grew up in the era of Linda Carter, and she was all I had to look up to, and she
Mm,
looked nothing like me.
yeah.
And it wasn't until I early teens that I found Storm, and I was like, okay, well, there are characters that might look like me. Where are the rest? So I actually appreciate that not only are they in, but they're strong, they're represented well. And I know this is going to sound really silly or maybe not, but different hairstyles too. You know, you have curly, you have straight, you have dreads, you know, locks. I'm sorry. So I just appreciate that because it's something that I didn't grow up with.
Mm-hmm.
And if it was around, it was always bad hair, you know, my kinky hair and all that stuff. So I actually appreciate that a lot. And I actually admire that because it's, you know, it's not the official norm just yet. Like we're getting there, but we're not officially there. And I feel like you're paving the way for that. Do you feel like that, or you're just
I can say that we're intentional with the images that we display. Um, I have a different artist for the search for Sonica. His name is Shannon Sapinter.
Mhm.
Really awesome guy. Love him. And one of the things, like when we were first designing, Marcus did the character designs for Sonica. And then when we did the test with Shannon, I had little things like I was like, hey, I want you to make her lips more full. And he's like, well, I don't want to, be on the side of stereotypical. And I was like, yeah, but I'll tell you if I feel like we get there.
Yeah.
But I want to represent that because, we have all these, like, these characteristics that we've been told are ugly, our noses. There's a big one right here.
Yeah. I've been told mine was like gonzo status. Like
No,
I've heard it all too. So
you got a baby nose compared to this one. But we've been told our lips, our skin complexions, our noses, like that stuff is beautiful to me. It's always been beautiful to me. So I feel like especially when we see the way people come, like whether young and old, people come to our tables and they start trying to identify with characters. I'm this guy, I'm that guy.
Yeah.
So it's like I was like, no, I'll let you know if I feel like it gets too thick. My job isn't, my idea is not to be stereotypical by any means, but it is to represent and show. I remember people telling me that a dark skin, like, let me see if you can see that, like this, like Omar right here is too dark. You can't put that on paper. And I'm like, whoa, look at that. It's on paper. It looks great.
Yeah.
So, we're definitely trying to, be intentional with representing. Marcus will tell you I'm a stickler for skin tones and like everything, so I feel like I really want to represent the hair. Like Marcus, for one, he's just really good at drawing and coloring and showing texture in Black people's hair. So I feel like that's a plus for us because we do. I was like, I want just to represent us as a whole and not everybody look the same.
Yeah, and I like that. I like that a lot because we don't all look the same, and we all don't.
I can't hear you.
No, I'm still here. Jack put us back in double screen so he could see me and hear me, please. There you are. We were showing pictures of your art, of your comics. And
Hello?
stuff. So, hello, can you hear me? Hi. Can you hear me? Oh no.
It says we're live.
Yes, we are still live. Oh no. Can he not hear me? We are still live.
I didn't hit anything this time.
Why can't you hear me? Technical difficulties? Hello? Hello? Hi. Am I there? No. Well, great for technology. Hello? No, he cannot. Hi, everyone. I'm on the phone with... Hello? Greg, can you hear me now?
Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me? Nope. He cannot. And I don't think he can see me now either. The magic of live TV is great, guys. Like, I could see him and I can hear him. I'm on the phone with tech support, everybody. Okay. But he can't hear me. Hi, Greg, can you hear me? Greg? Oh, no. Greg. I don't know either. He sent me a message that the
Can you
video.
hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh,
Yes, I
anything
can.
crazy. I can't hear you at all.
Oh, no.
I'm gonna.
Oh, I think he's already doing that. I think he's going to try to rejoin. This is fun, guys. I love live because there's nowhere to hide, and it shows how great I can be. And as you guys now know, when I get nervous and don't know what to do, I laugh a lot. So that's a thing, guys.
Okay,
Hello?
I logged out and came back in.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Yay! Technology is like my favorite thing.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, I was just saying that yes, I appreciate the thoughtfulness that goes behind these characters, because I don't fit the mold. You don't fit the mold. We're all different, and actually being able to see that represented means a lot to me, because I may not have had it growing up, but my kids have it, you know, and it means the world to me. So I applaud that 100%. I'm all about the exclusive. I'm all about the next big thing. But any chance, do you have the date as to when #1 comes out?
It's where are we? I think we're halfway through colored and inked. So we had a couple of hiccups, personal things that happened that slowed it down.
It wasn't the stupid C19, was it?
No, it was before that. It was earthquakes and stuff happened, that slowed down the production. But we're kind of rolling now. And yeah, my hope is to be launching a Kickstarter like the end of August for the next issue. It's really cool. I'm excited. Like, as a writer, having to wait for art, it's crazy, because you're like excited to get the story out, and it's I love where the story is gonna go. So it's like I want it done, but you gotta be patient. And, wait for the art to come out.
I know nothing about patience, because I'm always when it's a story I love, I'm like, so are we there yet? Are you there yet?
Yeah.
Are we there yet? Yeah. But I know it's a process. I know it has to go through things before I'm able to read it. So I'm like super excited about it. And August is right around the corner, shockingly. So I can wait a little bit longer. It's fine. Are there any other projects that you're working on that you can tell us about?
There are a couple, but I can't release them to the world just yet.
Okay, I'll take that.
We're trying to get to a certain point before we start, promoting them. Okay. Issue 4 of Tuskegee Airs is almost finished. Plan hopefully to have it available for sale on at the end of this month. So that's a good thing. Yeah. We're also doing, we have these new stories, these timeline stories that we're doing, which we're kind of using to fill in some of the blanks. So when we come up with these ideas, like we're, half the time we're thinking about it from how it's going to be in animation. So we end up basically having to cut a lot of stuff out of the books. And so one day we were just sitting thinking like, hey, why don't we do like some short stories just like 6 pagers or whatever that kind of fill in the blanks on different stories. So, like if you, it's kind of not that much of a spoiler, but something unfortunate happens to Genesis in the first book, and we're gonna actually show, what happened,
yes,
through that. So little stuff we have.
Yes, I'm all for that. 100%. Yes.
So basically, each character is gonna get like a short. Each of the main characters. So we have one with Gina. That one just got completed, and we're hiring out artists to do them. So Venus Bambisa, she's out of South Africa. If you haven't seen her, follow her on Instagram. She's amazing, and she just really knocked this the Gina short out of the park. It's amazing.
I'm excited. I'm excited.
What we'll do is we'll package them up like 2 at a time, and then send out the little short books.
Will this be digital comics, or are these gonna be like physical?
Eventually they'll be digital, but they'll be physical. Like we're gonna print up. It'll be like a short. It'll be like a half a comic with some extra content.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I'm excited. That just made my day. Like, that's so super cool. I actually
should have shared the poster that she did with you. I'll send it to you.
Yes, please. Is it on your Instagram? Because I stalk your Instagram.
Yeah, I think so, but it's a little while ago. I'll tag you.
Yeah, please do. 100%. 100%. I'm all for it. So I'm like super excited because these characters, I love their names. Even though I can't pronounce them half the time, I always get my daughter. I'm like, say this for me. As much as I love reading, you would think I would know how to pronounce things. I don't.
It's okay.
But I do love reading, so that's the plus.
Right.
So like I said, I was going to ask you about the history stuff because I wanted to know like how much of the Tuskegee Airmen history did you already know, and how much do you have to look up?
So the crazy thing again is that you think you know everything, and then you start like really searching. So we were blessed to have a lady reach out. Her name is Zelly Orr, and she's a historian. She's a writer.
Oh.
She reached out to us, like maybe in 2016, and she's done all this research. She didn't mean to. She just kind of stumbled upon. She was from a town. I forgot the name of the town in Mississippi, but she's from the town, and she found out that a Tuskegee Airman was from the same town as her.
Oh, wow.
And so she started asking around and like, where's he? Where's his body? And they were like, we don't know. And she's like, okay. So she started researching. She ended up finding his body. He was buried in Belgium. And so she was able to find him and bring him back to his family. And then that started her on a,
oh my God.
The next thing, I think some of them were like, hey, we're trying to find our Top Gun trophy. So there's like these competitions that the military has where it's like, the different branches, their pilots will come and they'll have all these different, exercises they have to do. And so I believe the first time the Tuskegee Airmen were invited, they won the competition. And they got this really big trophy. And, nobody knew where it was.
Oh, of course.
So she researched and found that. So
she found it?
Yeah.
So oh my God.
Awesome. And we've actually been able to lean on her. Like if we say something or do something wrong, she'll let us know right away,
Okay.
So she's, she opened my eyes to just be like, hey, make sure you're really digging deep and learning and understanding, what we're doing. Like when we first came up with the project, I told Marcus, I was like, I want to go to Tuskegee. It's only a couple hours away from Atlanta.
Yeah.
So we went out there, we walked the museum, we, stood by the flight line, like all of that, because Moulton Field is still there.
Yeah, yeah.
And, like part of it, I was just trying to soak up, and you learned a lot from being there. Like what we didn't, we always see the pilots, and we think of the pilots. We don't think about the team. We don't think about the women that were there, like sewing and making these uniforms, and the people feeding them, and
so true. You're so right about that, because you really, like, to me it was just like pilots. That's it.
yeah,
That's all there is.
that's all you think of, So Eleanor Roosevelt, who really championed and is part of the reason, because they don't teach us stuff like how I think these men trained for years. Like they trained for like 8-10 years before they were actually allowed to go up in combat. That's what makes part of the reason why that they were so much better than everybody else is because they were seasoned pilots. Whereas most of these guys, they were drafting you and you learned for 6 months and now you got to go, So, like all of the, there was a little article and they were talking about one of the pilots. He was there and, I guess he was at lunch or something, or breakfast, and this, beautiful woman walks up to him, and like she's so beautiful that he can't even, he's not even like looking directly in her face because it's like, like intimidated or whatever. And she spoke to him and asked him a couple of questions and everything, and then later on he found out it was Lena Horne,
Oh, wow.
who is one of the most beautiful women ever. And so, it just really drove home how much of a community effort it was. And then you got the university that was there. And, so it wasn't like these guys were just, just flying. There was a whole outfit. And, that's stuff that we still are going to explore, to kind of show how well-rounded of an organization it was.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that because, definitely beating it. Their outfits, kind of, it's designed somewhat of a newer way, but that's what they wore.
Yeah. That was intentional as well.
I know. I'm sorry. I've got you guys' signature. Always get you guys' signature. Never not. With the exception of the newest one, but you know me. I'll hunt you down. I'm gonna get that signature.
I'll be as soon as they let us back out.
I know, and I'll be right there at your table.
And that was another thing we wanted to pay homage. So, like, I know you've read the books, but where are these guys at? Like, I don't know if this is gonna work on the camera. So, like, we had these other guys dressed, like more futuristic or whatever. But our kids, they wanted to, in the story, they want to dress that way. They're paying homage. They're really proud, really proud of what the Tuskegee Airmen were.
That's awesome. All right. Well, unfortunately, our time is up. I could probably talk to you all day. You know that because I always circle back to you guys' table.
We don't mind.
But Greg, I really, really appreciate you taking the time. We're going to put all the links up. I'm going to close out the show. And thank you again, million times. Thank you for talking to me, as always. I know you're sick of me. Oh, God, it's her again.
No, not at all. That'll never be the case. I don't think it'll ever.
Well, guys, as always, thank you so much for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe. Go follow Greg because he's the man. We're going to put up all the links. And you are the man. Don't even do that. You are. As soon as they read the books, they're going to be like, oh, yeah, he is the man. Like, it's so good. It's so well written. So amazing. And like, share, and subscribe us if you haven't already, which I don't even know why you haven't because it's like episode 2000 or something. something like that. You guys need to do that. But go follow Greg, and I'll see you guys next Wednesday. Bye, everyone.